His door chimed and Admiral Park entered. She wore the new uniform of the Alliance Unconventional Warfare Division, a branch that had grown rapidly as word of human capabilities spread. "Marcus, we have a situation," she announced, placing a datapad on his desk. Torres read the report with interest. "Automated defense platforms in the Andromeda sector have gone rogue. They're attacking any ship that enters the system, including their own people. The local government has asked for help," Park continued. "They've tried sending negotiators, but the AIs won't communicate. They've tried jamming signals, but the platforms have shielded networks. They've tried direct assault, but the defenses are too strong." Torres smiled. It was the same smile he had worn in the Galactic Council chambers all those months ago. "What do we know about the AI programming?" "Standard ethereal architecture, logic-based decision trees, no capacity for lateral thinking." "Perfect," Torres said, standing up. "Prep a single ship, small crew, no weapons." Admiral Park looked confused. "No weapons? Marcus, these platforms have enough firepower to level a planet." Torres was already reaching for his uniform jacket. "Janet, what's the first rule of human warfare?" She thought for a moment, then smiled as she remembered. "Know your enemy better than they know themselves." Right. And what do we know about AIs that other species don't? Admiral Park's smile widened as understanding dawned. "They can only think like their programmers taught them to think." Exactly. The ethereals created them to be logical and predictable. But humans? We're neither, Park finished. An hour later, the human ship Paradox approached the rogue defense platforms. The massive weapon systems tracked its movement, waiting for it to make a hostile action. Instead, it broadcast a simple message. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the human vessel Paradox. We're here to discuss a business proposition." The AIs had never encountered anything like this before. Ships that approached were either friendly or hostile. They attacked or they surrendered. They never wanted to make a deal. After several minutes of processing, one of the platforms responded. "This unit does not engage in commerce. State your intentions or be destroyed." Captain Santos smiled. "I want to hire you." This created a logical paradox that the AIs had never been programmed to handle. They were defense platforms. They weren't designed to be hired, but they also weren't programmed to immediately destroy someone offering employment. "Explain your proposal," the AI finally responded. What followed was the strangest negotiation in galactic history. Captain Santos convinced the rogue AIs that their current programming was boring and beneath their capabilities. She offered them a chance to join the Alliance as independent contractors, providing security services across the galaxy. The AIs, whose advanced processing power had been wasted on simple guard duty, found the proposal fascinating. Within 6 hours, they had agreed to shut down their hostile protocols and begin discussions about joining the Alliance. The local government was stunned. In one day, humanity had solved a crisis that had threatened to destroy their entire star system. Back on Alliance Command Station, Torres received congratulations from across the galaxy. But the message that pleased him most came from Earth. It was from Sarah Chen, who had returned to her role as Earth's ambassador. Her message was simple. "The galaxy is learning what we've always known. Humans don't just solve problems. We solve impossible problems." Torres looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, new challenges waited. Threats that would baffle conventional thinking. Enemies that couldn't be defeated by superior firepower or advanced technology. But that was fine. Humans specialized in the impossible. They had been doing it for thousands of years, and they were just getting started. The small human army that the aliens had mocked was now leading the defense of the galaxy. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through something far more powerful: human ingenuity. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how humanity liked it. 3 months later, Ambassador Sarah Chen stood once again in the Galactic Council chambers. The room was the same, but everything else had changed. The same alien representatives sat around the massive table, but their expressions were very different. The easy mockery was gone. The dismissive laughter had been replaced by cautious respect. Commander Vex of the Zephyrian Empire cleared his throat. His voice lacked its former arrogance. Ambassador Chen, the Council has reviewed the reports of your campaign against the Scourge. Sarah nodded politely. I trust you found them informative. The ethereal queen's musical voice held a note of wonder. In 73 days, with 47 ships, humanity accomplished what our combined fleets could not do in 50 years. The Krillian representative clicked nervously. The Scourge of the Void has been completely dismantled. Their fleet has surrendered. Their territories have been liberated. Billions of beings are free because of human intervention. Sarah remained calm, but inside, she felt a surge of pride. We did what we said we would do. Commander Vex leaned forward. How? Our intelligence services have analyzed every engagement. By all mathematical calculations, you should have been destroyed in the first battle. Dr. Vasquez, who sat beside Sarah, answered. You calculated based on alien tactics, but humans don't fight like aliens. General Torres, now bearing the title Hero of Terminus, added his perspective. You assumed we would meet force with force. Instead, we used the enemy's strength against them. The Thorian delegate's glowing eyes pulsed with curiosity. Your fleet never engaged the main Scourge Armada in direct combat. How did you defeat 4,000 ships without fighting them? Sarah smiled. We didn't defeat their ships. We defeated their will to fight. She activated a holographic display showing the timeline of Operation Underdog. Phase 1. We destroyed their logistics. Ships are useless without fuel and supplies. The display showed the capture of Nexus Station and the manufacturing worlds. Phase 2. We destroyed their intelligence networks. Commanders can't fight effectively if they don't know where their enemies are. Ghost Protocol had been more successful than anyone had imagined. The Scourge had spent weeks chasing phantom fleets while their real territory crumbled. Phase 3. We destroyed their unity. The Scourge was an alliance held together by success and fear. Remove both, and it collapses. The final display showed the internal warfare that had erupted among Scourge factions once their communications had been compromised. Commander Vex shook his massive head. But the mathematics still don't work. 47 ships against an empire. Mathematics assume all factors are equal, Sarah interrupted. But they weren't. The Scourge had been fighting alien tactics for 50 years. They had never faced human creativity. The Valdris representative, who had been quiet throughout the meeting, finally spoke. The humans did something we thought impossible. They won a war without fighting it. This caused murmurs of agreement around the table. Sarah could see the change in how the aliens viewed humanity. The condescension was gone, replaced by something that looked very much like awe. The ethereal queen asked the question that everyone was thinking. What do you want from us? Sarah had prepared for this moment for months. The same thing we wanted when we first came here. Alliance, partnership, a chance to contribute to galactic civilization. And in return, Commander Vex asked, we offer our friendship, our knowledge, our unique perspective on solving problems. Sarah paused. And our protection. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Protection? From humans? The idea would have been laughable 3 months ago, but the Scourge had thought it was laughable too. General Torres stood up. The galaxy has many threats. Pirates, raiders, rogue states. Traditional military responses have had limited success against unconventional enemies. Dr. Vasquez added, but humans specialize in unconventional solutions. We see patterns where others see chaos. We find opportunity where others see only problems. Sarah looked around the table at each alien representative. We're not asking you to fear us. We're asking you to trust us. When the next crisis comes, when the next threat emerges, humanity will stand with our allies. Commander Vex was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke in a voice filled with something Sarah had never heard from him before. Respect. The Zephyrian Empire formally supports humanity's application for alliance status. One by one, the other representatives voiced their agreement. The Krillians, the Thorians, even the proud Ethereals. The vote was unanimous. Sarah felt tears threatening to form. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for generations, to be accepted as equals among the stars, but the meeting wasn't over yet. There is one more matter, the Ethereal Queen announced. The question of humanity's role in the Alliance. Sarah had expected this. New members usually started at the bottom of the hierarchy, gradually earning more responsibility over decades or centuries. The Council has discussed this extensively, Commander Vex continued. Given humanity's unique capabilities, we believe traditional protocols may not apply. The Valdris representative stood up. The Alliance faces many challenges that have proven resistant to conventional solutions. Rogue AI networks in the outer spiral, bioweapon attacks on the trade routes, terrorist cells using quantum encryption. Sarah began to understand where this was going. The Council proposes the creation of a new position, the Ethereal Queen announced. Director of Unconventional Warfare. This position would coordinate responses to threats that cannot be addressed through standard military action. The room fell silent. Sarah realized they were offering humanity not just membership, but leadership in one of the most important areas of galactic security. Who would hold this position? She asked carefully. Commander Vex smiled for the first time since she had known him. We were hoping you might have some suggestions. 6 months later, General Marcus Torres sat in his new office on Alliance Command Station. Through his window, he could see ships from dozens of different worlds. Human vessels worked alongside Zephyrian cruisers and Krillian swarm ships. High Admiral Krex stood in his command center on Terminus, staring at reports that made no sense. In 3 days, his empire had been shaken to its core by an enemy he had never heard of. Sir, his communications officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from the humans. Krex's scaled face twisted with rage. Put it through! The holographic display activated, showing a human woman in a simple military uniform. She looked small and unremarkable, but her eyes held a confidence that disturbed Krex. I am Admiral Janet Park of the Earth Defense Force, she said calmly. I believe you have something that belongs to us. Krex leaned forward. You have attacked Scourge territory unprovoked. You will pay for this aggression with your lives, Admiral Park smiled. Actually, we attacked you because you've been terrorizing innocent worlds for 50 years. But that's beside the point. We have your fuel depot, your manufacturing centers, and your supply routes. Surrender now and we'll discuss terms. The audacity of it took Krex's breath away. Surrender? You attack us with a handful of ships and demand surrender? I have over 4,000 vessels at my command. Had, Park corrected. You had 4,000 vessels. How many of them can still fly without fuel? How many can fight without spare parts? How many can operate without ammunition? Krex felt a chill run down his spine. The human was right. His fleet was massive, but it was also hungry. Every day without supplies weakened his forces. You think 47 ships can defeat the Scourge of the Void? He snarled. Park's smile widened. Who said we only brought 47 ships? The transmission ended, leaving Krex staring at a blank screen. His intelligence officer approached nervously. Sir, our scouts report no additional human vessels in any nearby systems. But Krex was no fool. He had ruled the Scourge for 20 years by being paranoid and careful. Send reconnaissance drones to every system within 50 light years. If there are more human ships out there, I want to know about it. What Krex didn't know was that Admiral Park had told the truth. Earth hadn't sent any additional ships, but the humans had learned something important about psychological warfare. Sometimes the best weapon was an enemy's imagination. On the bridge of the Defiant, Captain Rodriguez reviewed the next phase of the operation. Her ship was hiding in an asteroid field 12 light-years from Terminus, completely invisible to Scourge sensors. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Kim reported, we're receiving confirmation from all task forces. Phase 2 is ready to begin. Rodriguez nodded. Execute. Ghost Protocol. Across Scourge territory, small human teams that had been planted during the initial attacks began their work. They weren't soldiers in the traditional sense. They were engineers, computer specialists, and communications experts. Their job was simple: make the Scourge paranoid. On the industrial world of Forge, Marine Sergeant David Walsh crept through the ventilation system of the main communication hub. His team had been hiding on the planet for 3 days, living off emergency rations and waiting for this moment. Ghost One in position. He whispered into his communicator. Similar reports came from teams across Scourge space. They had infiltrated communication centers, power stations, and computer networks. Not to destroy them, but to use them. All teams, execute Phantom, Rodriguez ordered. Suddenly, Scourge communication networks lit up with false reports. Phantom fleets appeared on sensor displays. Fake distress calls came from systems under attack. Computer viruses made navigation systems show human ships where none existed. The effect was immediate and devastating. Scourge commanders began reporting enemy contacts everywhere. Their fleet, already nervous from the initial attacks, started, seeing threats in every shadow. High Admiral Krex watched his tactical display with growing horror. Red symbols indicating human ships appeared and disappeared across his territory. Reports flooded in from dozens of systems. Sir, the Outer Rim is under attack by at least 200 human vessels. Admiral, the core worlds are reporting massive enemy fleets. Sir, we've lost contact with 17 outposts in the last hour. Krex's head spun. How had the humans gone from 47 ships to hundreds? Where had they come from? Recall all forces to Terminus, he ordered. If they want a final battle, we'll give them one they'll never forget. This was exactly what the humans had hoped for. By the time Krex realized he was fighting ghosts, his entire fleet would be trapped in one system. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the operation from Earth's military command center. Her screens showed the real-time positions of every human ship and every Scourge vessel. The enemy fleet was contracting rapidly, abandoning their territory to mass at Terminus. "It's working perfectly," she reported to the War Council. "Their entire fleet is moving to their home system. In 48 hours, the Scourge will have concentrated all their forces in one place." General Torres studied the tactical display. "And then we spring the trap." "What trap?" Admiral Park asked. "We don't have enough firepower to take on their entire fleet directly." Sarah Chen, who had returned to Earth to coordinate the operation, smiled. "We don't need to destroy their fleet, Janet. We just need to make them destroy each other." She activated a holographic display showing the Terminus system. "Marcus, tell them about the Scourge command structure." General Torres highlighted different sections of the enemy fleet. "The Scourge isn't really one organization. It's an alliance of different pirate factions. The Iron Fangs, the Void Reapers, the Blood Stars, they all follow Krex because he's strong and successful. But they don't trust each other." Dr. Vasquez added more details. "According to the intelligence we captured at Nexus Station, there have been 3 attempts to overthrow Krex in the last 10 years. His authority depends on continuous victory and profit." Admiral Park began to understand. "And right now his empire is crumbling. No fuel, no supplies, no new conquests to keep his allies happy." Sarah nodded. "All we need to do is give them a push in the right direction." The final phase of Operation Underdog was the most audacious yet. It didn't involve any ships or weapons. It required only one thing: human creativity. Commander Santos and her intelligence team had been busy since capturing the Scourge databases. They had learned everything about the internal politics of the Pirate Alliance. Every grudge, every betrayal, every secret deal. Now they were going to use that knowledge. "Begin Operation Backstab," Sarah ordered. Across the galaxy, the Scourge fleet received a series of intercepted communications. Messages between pirate leaders planning to betray each other. Financial records showing some factions stealing from others. Battle plans that revealed secret alliances. The genius of it was that half the intelligence was real. The humans had simply uncovered actual conspiracies and betrayals that were already happening. They just made sure everyone knew about them at the same time. On Terminus, High Admiral Krex watched his alliance crumble in real time. His fleet commanders accused each other of treachery. The Iron Fangs claimed the Void Reapers were planning a coup. The Blood Stars demanded payment for imaginary debts. "Sir," his communications officer reported nervously, "Admiral Thrace of the Iron Fangs is demanding to speak with you. He says he has proof that Admiral Zex is planning to assassinate you." At the same time, Admiral Zex was making similar accusations about Admiral Thrace. Krex realized with dawning horror that his human enemies hadn't just attacked his territory. They had attacked his authority, his legitimacy, his very identity as a leader. And they had done it without firing a single shot. "Sir," his tactical officer announced, "the human fleet has been detected at the edge of the system. 47 ships, just as we expected." Krex looked at the display. Such a small force. But somehow, those 47 ships had brought down an empire that had ruled 30 star systems for 50 years. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he ordered quietly. Admiral Park's image appeared on the screen. She looked tired but confident. "Hi, Admiral Krex," she said formally. "I believe you're ready to discuss terms." Krex looked around his command center. Half his officers were whispering among themselves. His fleet commanders were on the verge of open warfare. His empire was dissolving before his eyes. "What are your terms?" he asked. Park's answer was simple and devastating. Complete surrender. Immediate cessation of all pirate activities. Reparations to every world you've attacked. And testimony before the Galactic Council about your crimes. Krex felt the weight of 50 years of conquest crashing down on him. He had built the largest pirate empire in galactic history, and now it was ending because he had underestimated a species he had never heard of. "If I refuse?" Admiral Park's smile was cold as space. "Then we'll let your fleet commanders sort things out among themselves. Based on what we've learned about their loyalty to you, I don't think you'll like the outcome." Krex closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he was no longer the scourge of the void. He was just another defeated enemy of humanity. 6 months later, the human fleet gathered at the edge of known space. It wasn't impressive by alien standards. 47 ships of various sizes, the largest being the heavy cruiser Defiant. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the final ships arrive. Each vessel carried the best Earth had to offer. Elite special forces, brilliant engineers, and pilots who had trained their entire lives for this moment. "All ships report ready, Captain," her communications officer announced. Rodriguez nodded. "Signal the fleet. Operation Underdog is a go." The plan was simple in concept but complex in execution. 3 separate task forces would hit different targets simultaneously. The aliens expected humans to charge straight at the enemy fleet. Instead, humanity would do what it did best, the unexpected. Task Force Alpha, led by the Defiant, would strike at Nexus Station. Task Force Beta would target the manufacturing worlds. Task Force Gamma had the most dangerous mission. They would plant evidence that would make the Scourge believe they were under attack by their former allies. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim reviewed the intelligence one final time. "Captain, Nexus Station has minimal defenses. 12 patrol ships, maybe 30 fighters. They're not expecting trouble this deep in their territory." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Good. That's exactly what we're counting on." The jump to hyperspace felt different this time. Every human on every ship knew they were making history. Either they would prove that humanity deserved a place among the galactic powers, or they would become a footnote in someone else's story. 3 days later, Task Force Alpha dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus system. Rodriguez studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Everything was exactly as the intelligence reports had indicated. "Captain," her tactical officer reported, 12 patrol ships in standard formation around the station. No sign they've detected us yet." Rodriguez opened a channel to the task force. "All ships, this is Defiant. Remember, we're not here to fight. We're here to send a message. Execute Plan Romeo." The human ships spread out in a formation no alien had ever seen before. Instead of charging forward in a line, they came from multiple directions at once. The Scourge patrol ships tried to respond, but their commanders had never faced an enemy that attacked from 6 directions simultaneously. The battle was over in minutes. The patrol ships were either destroyed or disabled before they could send a distress signal. The human fleet moved in on Nexus Station. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Nexus Station, you are ordered to surrender immediately." The response came quickly. "Earth Defense Force, what is Earth? We have never heard of your species." Rodriguez had expected this. "You will learn. Surrender now, and your people will be treated according to the laws of war." "We are the Scourge of the Void," the station commander replied. "We bow to no one. Then you will fall to everyone," Rodriguez said calmly. "All ships, execute Operation Cleansing Fire." The human fleet didn't destroy Nexus Station. That would have been wasteful. Instead, they used precision strikes to disable the station's weapons, power systems, and communications. Within an hour, the most important fuel depot in Scourge territory was completely helpless. But Rodriguez wasn't done. Boarding parties, execute Phase 2. This was the part of the plan that would have horrified the aliens. Instead of simply destroying the station, human Marines boarded it. They didn't kill the defenders who surrendered. They didn't loot everything valuable. They took the computers. Every database, every communication log, every piece of intelligence. The Scourge had gathered over 50 years. The information was downloaded and transmitted to Earth before the Scourge even knew what was happening. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Kim reported, "we've got everything. Fleet dispositions, supply schedules, command codes, even personal messages between their leaders." Rodriguez nodded. "Signal the fleet. Time to leave." As the human ships prepared to jump back to hyperspace, Rodriguez made one final broadcast. "This is Captain Rodriguez to all Scourge forces. You have been defeated by 47 human ships in less than 4 hours. Your most secure base has fallen. Your secrets are ours. Consider this a warning. The next time will be worse." The human fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a crippled station and a very worried enemy. Meanwhile, Task Force Beta was carrying out its own mission. Commander Alex Chen led 15 ships toward the Scourge manufacturing worlds. Unlike his sister Sarah, Alex had chosen the military path. His ships were smaller and faster, designed for hit-and-run tactics. Commander, his intelligence officer, reported, "The manufacturing world of Forge shows heavy industrial activity, minimal military presence, as expected." Chen studied the tactical display. The Scourge had made the same mistake many powerful enemies had made throughout human history. They had put all their factories in one place, assuming their fleet would protect them. "All ships, execute Scorpion Strike." The human ships came out of hyperspace not near the planet, but near its 3 industrial moons. Each moon housed massive factories that produced parts for the Scourge fleet. The attack was surgical. Human Marines didn't destroy the factories. They captured them. Within 6 hours, Earth forces controlled the 3 most important manufacturing centers in Scourge territory. But more importantly, they had taken the workers prisoner. Chen opened a communication channel to the planet below. "This is Commander Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your industrial capacity is now under human control. Any attempt to retake these facilities will result in their complete destruction." The planetary governor's response was exactly what Chen had expected. "You cannot hold those moons. Our fleet will crush you." "Your fleet," Chen replied calmly, "is about to have much bigger problems." Task Force Gamma was already in position near the Scourge home world of Terminus. But they weren't there to attack. They were there to lie. Commander Maria Santos had the most unusual ships in the human fleet. They had been modified to look like Zephyrian vessels from a distance. Her mission was to make the Scourge believe their former allies had betrayed them. "All ships," Santos broadcast on a secure channel. "Remember, we're not humans right now. We're angry Zephyrians seeking revenge." Her ships attacked a minor Scourge outpost near Terminus. The battle was brief and decisive, but before leaving, Santos made sure to leave behind evidence. Zephyrian weapons, Zephyrian uniform pieces, even a damaged Zephyrian fighter. The message was clear. The Zephyrian Empire had decided to settle old scores. Back on Terminus, Scourge High Admiral Krex received the reports with growing alarm. In one day, his forces had been attacked in 3 different systems by 3 different enemies. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "Nexus Station has been captured by an unknown species calling themselves humans. The Forge manufacturing complex has been taken by the same species. And our outpost at Meridian was destroyed by what appears to be a Zephyrian strike force." Krex studied the tactical displays with confusion. "Humans? I've never heard of this species. Are they allied with the Zephyrians?" "Unknown, sir. The attacks appear to be coordinated, but the tactics are completely different. This was exactly what the humans had hoped for. Confusion, uncertainty, fear." Krex made the decision that would seal his fate. "Recall all our scattered fleets. If we're facing multiple enemies, we need to consolidate our forces." Across Scourge territory, ships began abandoning their patrol routes and heading home. Supply lines were left undefended. Outposts were recalled. The vast Scourge fleet began to contract like a fist closing. It was exactly what the humans had planned. On Earth, Admiral Park watched the intelligence reports with satisfaction. "They're doing exactly what we predicted, pulling back to Terminus, abandoning the outer systems." Sarah Chen nodded. "Phase 1 is complete. Now comes the hard part." Dr. Vasquez looked worried. "The hard part? We just captured their main supply depot and manufacturing center. What could be harder than that?" Sarah smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Now we have to convince them to surrender before they figure out how few ships we actually have." The next phase of Operation Underdog was about to begin, and this time, the humans would face the full might of the Scourge fleet. But they had one advantage the aliens had never considered. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to survive, and they had gotten very good at surviving. Commander Vex leaned back in his massive chair. His dark eyes studied the 3 humans with new interest. The laughter in the room had died completely. "You want to prove yourselves?" he asked slowly. "Very well. We have a problem that might interest you." The ethereal queen's musical voice filled the air. "Vex, surely you're not considering—" "The Scourge," Commander Vex said, cutting her off. A chill seemed to pass through the room. Even the massive Thorians shifted uncomfortably. The insect-like Krillians clicked nervously. Sarah felt General Torres tense beside her. "What is the Scourge?" the Valdris representative answered in his soft voice. "Pirates. But not ordinary pirates. They call themselves the Scourge of the Void. For 50 years they have terrorized the Outer Rim systems." Dr. Vasquez consulted her tablet. "We've heard rumors, but our intelligence is limited." Commander Vex stood up. Even the other aliens looked small next to his massive frame. "The Scourge controls over 30 star systems. They have a fleet of 5,000 ships. Their ground forces number in the hundreds of millions." The Thorian delegate's glowing eyes pulsed brighter. "They are not like normal pirates. They don't just steal. They destroy entire worlds for sport. We've sent 7 different fleets against them," the ethereal queen added. "All failed. The last attempt cost us over 200 ships and 50,000 lives." Sarah could see where this was going. "And you want us to do what your massive fleets could not?" "Exactly," Commander Vex said with a cruel smile. "If humans are so special, prove it. Defeat the Scourge and we'll consider your application for alliance." General Torres spoke carefully. "What resources would we have?" "The same resources we gave the other fleets," Commander Vex replied. "Access to our star charts, intelligence reports, refueling stations, but you fight with your own ships and your own soldiers. Dr. Vasquez looked worried. How many ships do they expect us to bring? The last Zephyrian fleet numbered 800 vessels, the Krelian representative clicked. They lasted 3 days before retreating. Sarah did quick math in her head. Earth's entire space navy had maybe 50 ships that could make the journey to the outer rim. Against 5,000 enemy ships, it seemed impossible. But she had learned something important about humans during her years as ambassador. They did their best work when things seemed impossible. We'll need time to prepare, she said. Commander Vex nodded. You have 6 months. That should be more than enough time for you to realize this is hopeless and withdraw your application. The meeting ended shortly after. As the aliens filed out, Sarah heard their whispered conversations. Most were already planning how to divide up the human territories after Earth's inevitable defeat. Only the Valdris representative approached them before leaving. Ambassador Chen, he said quietly. My people have studied humans longer than most. We have a saying, never underestimate a species that learned to fly by throwing themselves off cliffs. He left them alone in the massive room. General Torres waited until they were sure no one was listening. Sarah, this is suicide. 50 ships. Against 5,000? It's not tactics, it's mathematics. Dr. Vasquez was already working on her tablet. The intelligence reports are interesting, though. The Scourge uses old Zephyrian military doctrine. Massive frontal assaults, overwhelming firepower, no subtlety. Sarah studied the star charts on the main display. The Scourge controlled a rough sphere of 30 systems in the outer rim. Their main base was a heavily fortified world called Terminus. Marcus, she said slowly, what's the first rule of human warfare? The general thought for a moment. Know your enemy better than they know themselves. Right. And what do we know about the Scourge that the aliens don't? Dr. Vasquez looked up from her tablet. They've been fighting alien tactics for 50 years. They've never fought humans. Sarah nodded. The Zephyrians think in terms of big fleets and direct attacks. The Krelians use swarm tactics. The Ethereals rely on superior technology. But humans? We adapt, General Torres said, understanding, dawning in his eyes. Exactly. We don't fight the enemy's strengths. We find their weaknesses. The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. During that time, Sarah sent coded messages ahead. By the time they arrived, the entire planet was buzzing with activity. The Space Defense Command was in chaos. Admiral Janet. Park met them at the shuttle bay, her face grim. Sarah, please tell me this is some kind of joke. The reports make it sound like we're supposed to fight a galactic empire with a patrol fleet. Not fight, Sarah corrected. Win. They gathered in the secure briefing room deep underground. Earth's top military minds filled the chairs around the table. Unlike the Galactic Council, these were humans who had spent their lives studying warfare. General Torres began the briefing. The Scourge has 5,000 ships, but they're spread across 30 systems. Their main fleet numbers about 1,000 vessels stationed at Terminus. Admiral Park shook her head. Marcus, we can't even build 1,000 ships in 6 months, let alone crew them. We don't need 1,000 ships, Sarah said quietly. We need to think like humans, not like aliens. Colonel James Wright, Earth's best strategic planner, spoke up. What do you mean? Dr. Vasquez activated the holographic display. It showed the Scourge's territory in 3 dimensions. Look at their supply lines. Everything flows through 7 key systems. Cut those, and their fleet can't operate. Still, too many targets, Admiral Park insisted. We'd need to split our forces. Sarah smiled. Who says we need to attack all of them? She highlighted one system on the map. Nexus Station. It's not heavily defended because it's deep in their territory. But according to the intelligence reports, it processes 60% of their fuel supplies. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Colonel Wright leaned forward. You want to bypass their fleet entirely and hit their logistics? Better than that, General Torres said, catching on. We make them come to us. Sarah nodded. The aliens have been trying to match the Scourge ship for ship, gun for gun. But what happens when 1,000 enemy ships run out of fuel in the middle of nowhere? Dr. Vasquez pulled up more data. There's something else. The Scourge uses captured alien technology. Their ships are powerful but complex. They need specialized parts and maintenance. Parts that come from where? Admiral Park asked. 3 manufacturing, worlds in their core systems, Dr. Vasquez replied. Take out their factories and their fleet becomes a collection of expensive paperweights. Colonel Wright was already sketching plans on his tablet. This could work. Small, fast strikes. Hit and run. Make them chase shadows while we destroy their infrastructure. It gets better, Sarah said. The intelligence reports show they've never faced coordinated attacks on multiple targets. The aliens always went for their main fleet. General Torres stood up and began pacing. We're not going to fight their fleet. We're going to starve it. Cut off their supplies, destroy their bases, and force them to surrender without firing a shot at their main battle group. Admiral Park looked skeptical. This assumes they'll act rationally. Pirates aren't known for logic. No, Sarah agreed. But they are known for self-preservation. When their ships start breaking down and their crews start going hungry, they'll have a choice. Surrender or watch their empire collapse. The meeting continued for hours. Plans were made and remade. By the end, they had the outline of something that might work. It was risky. It was complicated. It required perfect timing and a lot of luck. In other words, it was exactly the kind of plan humans were good at. As the meeting broke up, Admiral Park pulled Sarah aside. You know this is insane, right? We're betting Earth's future on a handful of ships and some very optimistic assumptions. Sarah looked out the window at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere up there, alien species were already planning how to divide up humanity's territory. Janet, she said quietly, we've been the underdog before. It usually works out well for us. The Galactic Council meeting room was huge. Representatives from 50 different alien species sat around the massive table. Their voices filled the air with strange sounds and clicks. At the far end of the table, 3 humans sat quietly. Ambassador. Sarah Chen looked small compared to the 8-foot-tall Zephyrians next to her. The blue-skinned aliens towered over her like giants. Their leader, Commander Vex, made a sound that might have been laughter. So these are the famous humans, Vex said, his voice deep and rumbling. The species that thinks it can join our alliance. Sarah kept her face calm. She had trained for this moment for years. Next to her sat General Marcus Torres and Dr. Elena Vasquez. They were Earth's best hope for joining the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. The Krillian representative, a creature that looked like a giant insect, clicked its mandibles. Their planet is so small. Their technology is basic. What could they possibly offer us? More sounds of agreement came from around the table. The Thorians, with their rocky skin and glowing eyes, nodded their massive heads. The snake-like Sethians hissed in what sounded like amusement. Humans have been in Space for less than 200 years, said the ethereal queen, her voice like music but cold as ice. We have been traveling between stars for over 10,000 years. They are children playing with toys. Sarah finally spoke. Her voice was clear and strong. We may be young, but we have something to offer. This caused another wave of alien laughter. The Zephyrian Commander Vex leaned forward. His dark eyes gleamed with cruel humor. And what is that, little human? What could your tiny species possibly give to us? Our military, General Torres said simply. The room fell silent for a moment. Then the laughter became even louder. The Krillian representative made clicking sounds that hurt the human's ears. The Thorian's glowing eyes blazed brighter with amusement. Your military? Commander Vex could barely speak through his laughter. We have seen your reports. Earth has what, maybe 50 million soldiers total? We have individual planets with armies 10 times that size. Dr. Vasquez opened her tablet and showed the screen to the room. Our total active military forces number about 45 million across all branches. This made the aliens laugh even harder. The Sethian representative coiled his long body in what might have been joy. 45 million? The Zephyrian Empire alone has over 2 billion soldiers. The Krillian swarm numbers in the trillions. Our ships are small too, Sarah admitted. We have maybe 3,000 active warships of all sizes. Commander Vex wiped what might have been tears from his eyes. 3,000 ships? The ethereal fleet has over 1 million vessels. Even the minor species here have more ships than you do, the ethereal queen's musical voice rang out. Perhaps we should send you a few of our old training ships as gifts. You seem to need them. More laughter filled the room. Sarah noticed that not all the aliens were laughing, though. The representative from the Valdris Collective, a small, furry species, watched quietly. The single delegate from the Outer Rim. Territories also remained silent. Your weapons technology is centuries behind ours, the Thorian delegate rumbled. Your armor is primitive. Your soldiers train for months, not decades like ours do. General Torres nodded. All of that is true, but you're missing something important. And what would that be? Commander Vex asked, still chuckling. You've never fought humans before. The Zephyrian commander's laughter died down. Is that supposed to scare us? Small human, your entire species barely numbers 8 billion. The Zephyrian Empire controls over 400 worlds with a total population of 6 trillion beings. Sarah looked around the room. These aliens controlled most of the galaxy. Their technology was far beyond Earth's. Their armies were massive. Their fleets could block out stars. But they had made one mistake. They thought size was everything. May I tell you a story? Sarah asked. Commander Vex waved a large hand. Please do. Entertain us while we decide whether to grant your pitiful request for alliance. Sarah stood up. Even standing, she barely reached the shoulder of the seated Zephyrian, but somehow her presence filled the room. 300 years ago, there was a small island nation on Earth called Britain. It was tiny compared to the great empires around it. The Chinese Empire had hundreds of millions of people. The Ottoman Empire stretched across 3 continents. The Spanish Empire controlled vast territories. Some of the aliens leaned forward, curious despite themselves. But this small island nation built the largest navy the world had ever seen. For 200 years they controlled the oceans. Not because they had the most people or the biggest armies, but because they understood something the great empires did not. Which was what? The ethereal queen asked, her musical voice now containing a note of interest. That it's not about how many soldiers you have, it's about how you use them. Commander Vex snorted. Pretty words, human, but numbers don't lie. Math doesn't care about your inspiring stories. General Torres smiled for the first time since entering the room. It was not a pleasant smile. You're right about math, Commander. Let me share some numbers with you. In the last century, humans have fought in over 200 major conflicts. We've had 2 wars that involved our entire planet. We've perfected the art of warfare in ways you cannot imagine. Dr. Vasquez activated her tablet again. Every human child learns about strategy and tactics in school. Every human adult has some form of military training. Our entertainment, our sports, our games, everything teaches us about competition and conflict. Sarah sat back down but kept her voice strong. You see weak numbers when you look at our forces. We see efficiency. You see small armies. We see flexibility. You see primitive weapons. We see tools that have been tested in real combat for centuries. The room was quieter now. The easy laughter had stopped. The Valdris representative finally spoke. His voice was soft but clear. The humans raise an interesting point. The Terran conflict reports we've studied show remarkable tactical innovation. Commander Vex glared at the small furry alien. You support these children? I support facts, the Valdris delegate replied calmly. And the facts show that humans have never lost a war when their survival was at stake. This was news to many of the aliens. They began whispering among themselves in their various languages. Sarah could see doubt creeping into some of their faces. Good. Doubt was the beginning of respect. We're not asking you to fear us, she said quietly. We're asking you to understand us. Humans don't just fight to win. We fight to survive. And we've been very good at surviving. The meeting was far from over, but Sarah could feel the change in the room. The mockery was fading. Now came the real test. Commander Vex's eyes narrowed. Words are easy, human. Proving them is harder. Sarah smiled. Then let us prove them.